Welcome to Uncloaked Illusions. I am your host, Chris Anthony, and I am sitting here with Sen Moise. Let me say that again. Sen Moise.
Correct.
Okay. Welcome. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for agreeing to do this interview with me.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Let's get started. You want to give me a little history of your background? I know that you are a Jewish descendant and your tribe is Levites.
That's correct.
Okay, you can spear off of that.
So, yep, I am a Jew by blood. My family comes from the tribe of Levi, which is the tribe of the priests. They are said to be the descendants of Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. I am somebody who was raised in Southern Conjure or Hoodoo. I'm also an Ugan Asogwe or high priest in Haitian Voodoo.
Okay.
And I've been in this for the last 35 years.
So that means that you had a calling at a very young age.
Yes.
Can you give me a description of what happened that kind of let you know that this is something I'm supposed to be doing?
Well, I mean, it's something that I was raised in. It's also, something that, is kind of a part of the culture. But, whenever I was 4 years old, I was on a playground and I was playing on the playground and there was this woman who, was all of a sudden there. And, I started talking to her because, I'm a 4-year-old. We're not shy.
Yeah.
And she had said to me that she was always with me, and that she was somebody that had always been around me and would always be around me. And as a 4-year-old, I'm like, okay. And so I had said something to my grandfather about that, and I asked him if he had seen her, and he said no. And I described to him what was going on, and then he told me that it was one of my ancestors. And then from that point is when I began to like honor ancestors and work with the spirits as well. So that's what I came from.
So you've seen some interesting things in your life thus far.
A lot.
Things that would shock the hell out of the rest of us.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to hoodoo and voodoo, a great deal of people misunderstand the two. What would be the difference?
Well, there's a big difference. First of all, the two of them are not the same at all.
Okay.
Voodoo is actually a spiritual path or a spiritual practice, whereas hoodoo is more just along the lines of magic work. It's not a whole spiritual system, not necessarily.
Okay.
Hoodoo is more about work, the root work and doing things, whereas voodoo is a whole system, spiritual system unto itself.
Okay.
A lot of people get them confused, or they'll say that, hoodoo is like the bad side of voodoo, or that, hoodoo is the magical side of voodoo, which is not true because they don't even come from the same place. Voodoo comes from Old Dahomey, which in this day and age would be, the country is Benin.
Okay.
And hoodoo actually comes from, the root of hoodoo comes from the Congo part of Africa, which are two different places.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So do you think that is something that you kind of deal with on a regular basis? People misunderstanding or misconceiving both of these practices?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because people tend to believe what they're fed. And so if it's on TV or the media says this or this or this, then they tend to believe it. And a big part of where this comes from is television. And, it's absolutely untrue, but that doesn't negate the fact that people tend to believe what they see or what they're fed.
So the media pretty much has played a major role in
Absolutely.
representing what hoodoo and voodoo is about.
Of course they
entirely.
have. Yes,
Okay.
because the thing about it is that you think about it, there's the whole thing to where that saying that says that good news travels fast, but bad news travels faster.
Yes.
So if you can make a negative spin or make it spooky or whatever, what happens? You tend to get more people that are interested in it because, again, the bad news travels faster.
So I see there's a great deal of alcohol used in some of the spiritual workings. What would you say is the connection between rum and the spirit world?
Well, the thing is that the spirits require offerings. Okay. And, a lot of the spirits, used to be alive at one point. They had bodies and such, and those are things that they would enjoy whenever they were alive. So, if you're going to a spirit for a job, you better pay for it.
Okay.
And a lot of the times, one of the things that you use to pay for it is alcohol because they enjoy it. They enjoyed it when they had a body, so therefore they still, that's something that they still want or desire. So, alcohol primarily is an offering to the spirits because those spirits at one point enjoyed it and still do, even though they don't have a body.
So you would say that the generations from older day till now, they've moved away from actually honoring their ancestors or the people that has been a part of their lives and passed away.
I think that a lot of people have. I think that there's a resurgence of coming back to that, but I think that there are a lot of people who have kind of like just moved away from that. And so what you get now is that you get people that will, they'll honor their ancestors like around Halloween or some, dumb stuff like that.
Okay.
But the thing is that your ancestors live in your blood. They're the ones who blazed the trail for you to be where you are right now. They're the ones who made, the sacrifices, the blood, sweat, and tears for you to be able to stand where you are. They live in your blood, so why wouldn't you, in my opinion, why wouldn't you honor them? Why wouldn't you, give them, that acknowledgement or, that elevation that is due to them? And a lot of people, have gone away from it. It's something that I feel like that they need to come back to because at the same point in time with all this, if you didn't have your ancestors who do what they did for you in the past, then where would you be now?
So you think that people just pretty much move away from it because they see it as more of an indigenous practice instead of a modern practice, or something that should be continuous or perpetuated throughout the lifetimes of everyone?
I do. It's almost as if people feel like they have evolved past that.
Okay.
And, they forget their roots. They forget where they came from because they're trying to accomplish whatever, it may be. And so they forget about, those things, which, it doesn't matter who you are. Your roots have a very, very important part or play a very important role to, what you're doing and what you have the potential to do. And it's like I tell people all the time, you have to know where you came from to know where you're going. If you don't honor your ancestors, how the hell are you going to actually really move forward in the life that you're living? Because you're the one that is continuing to blaze the trail that your ancestors have already blazed. So if you're not wanting to continue to do that, then what is the point of even, trying to, perpetuate yourself as whatever you're trying to be,
So it's pretty much that saying that when you don't know the past, you're condemned to repeat it.
Pretty much.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, the All Hallows Eve misconception as well that goes along with voodoo or hoodoo. What would you say about that? Because people assume that Halloween is supposed to, I do know it's the winter solstice, so it's supposed to be a special time where it's thin between the spirit world and the human, I guess, living world. What do you think people sort of expect when Halloween, rolls around? Do they expect some spiritual, god daggone, upheaval or uprising? You're more aware of it?
Well, I think, people, because, that time of year, a lot of folks, they have an expectation,
Okay.
of, the veil being thin or
Yes.
whatever, it may be. But the thing about it is that they only have that expectation during that time of year, which I think is a mistake.
Okay.
Because the thing about it is that the spirits, the spirits of your ancestors, the spirits of the dead, they don't only move during that time of year. They're always moving. But sometimes folks don't tend to acknowledge that, if they do at all, until that time of year, because of, whatever, that season has, become, to get people to maybe pay attention a little bit more.
Do you think that maybe there's just this expectation that spirits are more active around this time?
Well, in my opinion, spirits are active all the time, but the thing about it is that, and I can say that because I've witnessed it, during January, February, May, June, it doesn't matter, but I think that people have become accustomed to the ideology that spirits are, they're more active during this time, and this is when they're active. And yeah, sure, but they're active all the time. I think that what happens is that people tend to not realize, what's going on during every other part of the year, as opposed to just Halloween.
I agree. And that's interesting. Would you... Yeah, I know. Look, interesting is a word that I utilize frequently. Would you think that people also have a misconception about works and how it actually works, and maybe their expectations is if you did a little work for them, it should literally happen within a 90-day period, as if it's a probationary period?
I think that people have again, this is something else that the media has portrayed as one thing, which is not exactly, accurate. I think that people have an idea of what they perceive, when it comes to work and how those things play out. But at the same point in time, like I tell people all the time, is that, work varies for every single individual, and the way that it plays out also varies for every individual, because every circumstance is different, every circumstance is unique. So there is no absolute formula that'll say, if I do this work in 2 days, this is going to happen. There isn't one, because every circumstance is different, every one. And so because those circumstances are different, the way that the work plays out also varies, at the same point in time.
So would you say that, or would you acknowledge that people not paying homage to their ancestors, do you believe, because I've read this somewhere and I've even had conversation about it, that ancestors can block certain things in a person's life because it's almost as if it's a signaling for, you need to honor us, you need to acknowledge us?
The ancestors absolutely can. Of course they can create a block. They are the blood of your blood. And if there's something that's going on that can be a huge disaster or danger for you, they absolutely can block it. Now, do they choose to all the time? Not necessarily, because sometimes we have to fall on our face so we can learn the lessons ourselves. But there are other times when they will absolutely block it to make sure that, not only you're safe, but, to give you a realization that this is probably not something that you should be doing right now at this time.
Okay. That is interesting. I would label it as your title. I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. Ugon.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that derive from? Was that something
Ugon
you-
is a term that is